Death, divorce, taxes, all pretty sad things. But just as sad is the downfall of the Mario and Luigi series, a game series that once celebrated great success and yet disappeared from the spotlight. A series that enchanted millions of fans with its wacky co-op gameplay, time-based action battles, and unmistakable humor. But why was it gone for so many years, and can the latest entry live up to the series' former masterpieces? You'll find out in this video. The Mario and Luigi games belong to the so-called Mario RPGs, role-playing games starring Mario and his brother Luigi. Together with the Paper Mario series, Mario and Luigi forms the heart of the Mario RPGs. Both are known for putting a strong focus on humor, original characters, and quirky stories that go far beyond what you'd expect from the classic platformers. But while Paper Mario increasingly leaned into experimental gameplay ideas like stickers, cards, or convoluted combat mechanics, which didn't necessarily make it more popular, Mario and Luigi stay true to its real-time control concept. Two brothers, each controlled with one button, and a battle system that challenges you every turn. Both series share the same charm, but Mario and Luigi always felt a bit more dynamic and slapstick-like. The series began in 2003 with Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga on the Game Boy Advance, which introduced a surprising new player in the RPG world. It was developed by a studio called AlphaNightmare, a relatively unknown team at the time, but one that included former developers from Square, the studio behind the successful Super Mario RPG. As a result, AlphaNightmare hit a real home run with Superstar Saga, and even this first title already showed what made the series so special. The dialogues alone felt like a parody of the entire Mario universe. Characters like Forful, who talks about himself in the third person, a world that you have to explore and solve puzzles in, and a battle system that is entirely timing based. Every attack, every defense depends on pressing the right button at the right moment. This active participation keeps even long battles exciting. On top of that, you have to control Mario and Luigi simultaneously, with A for Mario and B for Luigi. A gameplay element that seems chaotic at first, but becomes second nature after just a few hours. What defines Mario and Luigi is this mix of RPG mechanics and situational comedy. Even serious scenes often turn into absurd comedy. It's not a game that takes itself too seriously, and that's exactly where its charm lies. After the success of Superstar Saga, Mario and Luigi Partners in Time followed in 2005 for the Nintendo DS. The focus here was on time travel. Mario and Luigi were joined by their baby versions, who also had to be controlled. This noticeably increased the gameplay complexity and variety, since you now had to use the DS's two screens to solve certain puzzles. At the same time, the encounter with the world-threatening alien invaders called Troops added an unexpectedly dark and serious tone that clearly set it apart from its predecessor. For some fans, this darker atmosphere is exactly what makes this entry the best in the series. Then, in 2009, came Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story, widely regarded as the series' peak, and the sales figures reflect that. This trend wasn't just because you could finally play as Bowser, the game also cleverly switched gameplay between Bowser and the brothers. With Mario and Luigi, you explored Bowser from the inside, while he roamed the Mushroom Kingdom on the outside. This unique gameplay approach led to exciting perspective shifts and varied puzzles that made the adventure deeper and more complex. The story was humorous, lovable, and at the same time epic, filled with plenty of funny and memorable moments. I mean, at one point, Bowser eats so much fast food that he literally crashes through the ground. And the soundtrack was legendary. Just listen to the final boss battle music. The game was a technical highlight for the DS, and in my opinion, rightfully the best entry in the series. The fourth part, Dream Team Bros, was released in 2014 for the 3DS. It took place inside Luigi's dreams and introduced a whole new dimension to the gameplay. It combined classic combat with new mechanics and featured some creative boss fights. However, many fans complained about the overly long cutscenes and dialogues, and not everyone liked the mechanic of diving into Luigi's dreams as Mario, but the scope of the game was huge and the quality was solid. Finally, in 2015 came Paper Jam Bros, which is considered by many to be the weakest entry in the series. The game featured a crossover with the Paper Mario series, a promising idea that ultimately turned out too cautious in execution. It combined the co-op principle and battle system with paper-based attacks. While the idea was innovative, the result lacked clarity and polish. The game was criticized for not committing to a clear style, and the mechanics felt overloaded in parts. The story also fell flat, especially compared to the previous entries. Few characters had had a distinct personality, and many of them, especially the Toads, looked exactly the same, not even differing in color. Still, Paper Jam showed that Alpha Dream was continuing to experiment and trying to breathe new life into the series. By this point, 5 games had been released in 12 years. That alone was enough to establish Mario and Luigi as a serious franchise. After Paper Jam, the beginning of the end started. In 2017, Alpha Dream decided to release a remake of the first game in the series, Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga. At first, it wasn't a bad idea. Superstar Saga was a beloved game and many fans wanted to see a revamped version on a current console. The reviews were mostly positive, the graphics were updated, the sound was clearer, and a new mode provided additional story content. But it sold only moderately. Why? Because the game was released on the 3DS at a time when that console was already over 6 years old, and the then new hybrid console, the Nintendo Switch, had already been released. Most people probably didn't even notice the remake, the hype around the Switch was too huge. But the real blow came in 2019. Alpha Dream released a remake of the third and most successful entry, Mario & Luigi Bowser's Inside Story. This turned out to be a massive mistake because once again the remake came out on the 3DS in 2019, 2 years after the system was practically dead. Technically, it was excellent, again with a new side story, but hardly anyone played it. In Japan, it sold only about 10,000 copies during launch week. For comparison, the original had sold about 193,000 copies in its first week. While the Switch was the new center of the Nintendo universe, for some reason they decided to release the remake on an extinct platform, and that explains the massive failure. This mistake was fatal. Alpha Dream had invested in the remake but generated barely any revenue. The studio accumulated heavy debt and finally had to officially declare bankruptcy in October 2019. One of the most creative RPG studios of the 2000s is now gone. The rights to the series still belong to Nintendo, but the heart of the franchise had vanished. It's a prime example of how a beloved franchise can be driven into the ground by management mistakes and poor platform decisions. Bowser's Inside Story could have gained a whole new audience on the Switch, but for reasons I don't understand, they clung to the 3DS. And that's what destroyed the series. It shows how crucial good timing and platform strategy are to a game's success, even when the brand is strong and well known. But is there still hope? For 5 years there was radio silence around the series. But then, on June 18th, 2024, came the surprise. A new Mario & Luigi title was announced, Mario & Luigi Brothership. The graphics are more modern, the colors more vibrant, and the battles look familiar. And instantly the fans were back. The excitement was huge, but so was the fear. Can this game recapture the magic of the old titles? The big question was, who is developing the game? It couldn't be Alpha Dream anymore, they had gone bankrupt. But then came the relief. The game is being developed by Acquire, a studio that includes several former Alpha Dream developers. This suggested that the new game would likely retain the essence of the previous entries. Brothership presents itself in a modern 3D cartoon style and features an open island world with new exploration possibilities. From a gameplay perspective, battle plugs were introduced, special gadgets that alter battles and add tactical depth. There are also new partner mechanics that make the cooperation between Mario and Luigi even more interesting. The humor seems classic, with absurd dialogue and Bowser as the delightfully weird antagonist. But opinions on the game are divided. Some love the music, the gameplay and the style of humor. Others criticize the bland island designs, enemy spam, lack of quality puzzles, and overly long dialogue passages. So the game isn't as good as the first 3 entries of the series. But one thing is certain, the Mario & Luigi series is alive again. With around 1.97 million units sold, Nintendo has seen that there is still interest in the series, so future entries are likely on the way. Maybe we'll even see the next installment in the next 2 years on the Switch too, who knows? The Mario & Luigi series is far more than just a side project in the Mario universe. It's a vibrant example of how RPGs can be crafted with humor, innovation and attention to detail. From its first steps with Superstar Saga, to creative highlights like Bowser's Inside Story, to the painful fall of the series and a comeback with Brothership, which brings hope for a new era. The history of this franchise is a reflection of the challenges and opportunities faced by developers and fans alike. Whether Brothership truly rekindles the old magic or the series remains a niche title, only time will tell. For fans, there remains the hope that Mario and Luigi will soon be jumping and battling through adventure worlds together again, with all the wit, charm and iconic action battles that made the series so special. I hope you enjoyed this look into the past of the Mario and Luigi series. That's it for me, thanks for watching, but don't forget, like, subscribe or Mario says bye bye.